Hey guys, it's me Christy and I'm here with my honorable mentions of 2017. Last year, Winna did one because she did a best books, but then she also did one that said honorable mentions where she mentioned books that were very good but not as good as the ones that made it to her top 10 or favorite lists. So I'm gonna do that too because I too have a great number of books that were great, but they weren't my top. So, starting off, we have The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, which is a memoir about the life of Jeanette Walls, and there's also a movie on this. And I'm glad I read it. It's quite a life story to read, and I do highly recommend you pick this up if you are into memoirs, but not like the slow kind. This is like fast paced. If a memoir can be fast paced, that would be her life. And then I'll just put these two together, and that is Just Kids by Patti Smith and M Train by Patti Smith. These are Patti Smith's memoirs. Just Kids is about her life with Robert Mapplethorpe and how they both found themselves as artists in New York during the Summer of Love, 1969. And M Train is about Patti Smith years after the death of her husband, Fred Sonic Smith, and how she's dealing as a poet, but also just how she just reflects on her life and her favorite coffee shops. And this is mostly about coffee, really, and Polaroids and her home that she bought. And then Sandy sort of swept through her town and the aftermath of that. So it was quite beautiful. And then The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. This is about pretty much statecraft, but also the life of Cesare Borgia, and how he was Machiavelli's perfect prince in terms of how to move politically, how to not just run a state but also remain in power. Very good. And then because this was supposed to go on my best books of 2017, and I was too lazy to get up, I'm just gonna include it here, and that is Monstrous by Leslie Tenorio. This is a book of short stories which pretty much features Filipino diaspora and how we go about our lives, and all of his characters are just amazing. There's my favorite short story here is one called Felix Starro, about this kid who's helping his grandpa basically con people into thinking that he can heal their negativities in their body, and then they go to the States to make money off of that belief, and then they come back because most people don't believe in them here in the Philippines anymore. So that was beautiful. And up next we have Jessica Hagedorn, Dog Eaters. This is a very lyrical story told about, well, it's sort of about martial law, but not really, because I thought it was one thing, but it ended up being another thing, and then I was just confused. So I guess it's one of those things where it has an unreliable narrator. But yeah, Dog Eaters is actually really, really good. And then Slasher Boys and Monster Girls by multiple writers. I like this mostly because, like, I didn't know you could incorporate like a slasher or thriller type thing into YA, because usually YA is like contemporary love stories or like fantasy or dystopian. But this one had a specific horror thing about it, that you can't run away from the gore or the bloodiness of it. So you have to like face that head on instead of like skipping over it like they do sometimes in YA, that you don't really understand why. Like, yeah, so I really like this one. And the last book honorable mentions for 2017 is George R. R. Martin and Lisa Tuttle's Windhaven. This was good, and y'all probably thought I get rid of this, right? But then I just decided to hold on to it because it's good. It's really good, and it doesn't just take it doesn't start just with the life of a young girl. It ends when she's still like in her glory years. This takes you through her whole life, and it's basically about this land that is separated into islands, and these people landed on these islands through starships, and these starships had these sails that were pretty much indestructible, and they turned them into wings, and you think it was like a dragon thing, right? But no. So they turned these star sails into wings, and they use these wings to carry messages from one island to another, and then these wings are passed down to your children, or directly to the children, whether they are good enough or not. And this is about a young girl who was adopted into this family of flyers, and she is good enough, but then when her younger brother, who is a legitimate member of the family, gets to be old enough, he ends up inheriting the wings, and he does not want them. He wants his sister to have them, which is the girl. I forgot her first name here, but the story just goes on from there, and I think it's beautiful, and this is really good. So like, you should like read this, or at least, borrow from someone who has it. So yeah, that's it. These are my honorable mentions for 2017. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for sticking around. We can discuss more in the comments down below. Bye!